Okay, if you got your Bibles with you, I want you, if you would, to open up to Luke chapter 17. Luke chapter 17. We're going to be looking at a passage there in just a moment. Like Mick was saying, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and what are we thankful for? When we have our Thanksgiving together, what do you guys what are your traditions? Do you have a thing where everyone goes around the table and they say what they were most thankful for throughout the year? Do you have anything specific you pray for? One of the things we do, we don't do it for just Thanksgiving. Every night before the kids go to bed, we have the kids, we go around, we all talk about our favorite part of the day or what we were thankful for. So what are you thankful for? What do you normally talk about at the dinner table? Anything? Any traditions on that for Thanksgiving? Mick?
Many years ago, we did that when my parents were alive. And I remember one of my nephews prayed that we would get a stomach ache.
All right. Not much on the Thanksgiving, for Thanksgiving, I guess, for thanks. In 1923, Japan had a severe earthquake. It was really centered near Tokyo, but it hit most of the island. But in Tokyo, in that time, most of the buildings collapsed. Over 300,000 died. 1.5 million were homeless. And we're looking at 1923. They did not have much to deal with this size of a problem, and they were running into disease, and they didn't know if they were going to be able to build back. There were so many problems, but finally help came from the United States. The American Red Cross raised over $3 million from us to go there. We took food, we took supplies. A lot of ships were just constantly going back and forth, bringing what they could, and we helped rebuild most of Tokyo, many of their small villages, and helped them get back on their feet. They were so gracious to us. There is even a written letter. It's in the Smithsonian where they write and they say, in 1923, we will never forget. 19 years later, they forgot, didn't they? And in 1941, they bombed Pearl Harbor. Amazing. Sometimes we can quickly forget such great kindness that was bestowed to us. In Luke chapter 17, verses 12 through 19, this is a passage you probably know well. This is about the 10 lepers. And it says there, starting in verse 12, that Jesus entered a village. As he entered a village, 10 leprous men who stood at a distance met him. And they raised their voices, saying, Jesus, Master, have mercy on us. When he saw them, he said to them, Go and show yourselves to the priest. And as they were going, they were cleansed. Now one of them, when he saw that he had been healed, turned back, glorifying God with a loud voice. And he fell on his face at his feet, giving thanks to him. And he was a Samaritan. Then Jesus answered and said, Were there not 10 cleansed? But the 9, where are they? Was no one found who returned to give glory to God except this foreigner? And he said to him, Stand up and go. Your faith has made you well. Nearly everybody is thankful for good things, though there are exceptions. What do you think caused those 9 to not go back and give thanks to the Lord? What do you think? What could it have been that kept them from going back? I always wondered about that. I think about that time when Jesus was talking about the cost of discipleship, and he was telling people to follow me. Remember what they would say? What was one of the ones that replied to Jesus when he said to follow him? What did he say? Oh, first I need to go and bury my father, and then I will follow you. And I think another one said that first you needed to go say goodbye, right? And what did Jesus say at the very end, after all those who he went through and they did not follow, they had to go do other things first? He said, those who, what's that? Look back are not worthy of following him. And that's, in a paraphrase, that's what pretty much he is saying. What are we thankful for? What do you think that one foreigner, the Samaritan, was thankful for? Jody? Getting well. Thank you. Do you know what leprosy is? It's a terrible disease, yeah. It can cover the whole body. It's a horrible thing. And to be finally cleansed of that, I mean, man, I would be turning back and saying thank you to the Lord. So are we thankful for the good things that happen to us? I think so. What are some good things? I'm going to try again. What are some good things that happened this past year? I tied Guy Overson in golf. Almost beat him. I will never forget it because I always lose bad. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think he probably let it happen. But that's one thing I'm thankful for. Patty?
I was cured of cancer.
I'm sorry?
I was cured of cancer.
Cured of cancer. And that is huge to be thankful for. Same with Jay. Very thankful for that. Thankful that Josh is getting better. The supplements and the diet we got him on seem to be working, so we're thankful for that. What else? What are you thankful for? My God, I'm surprised you don't have a list. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving Day. Mick?
Thankful that Bill Salazar is going to be helping at camp and here at North Valley. That's going to be a big blessing for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Having Bill back and working at the camp and helping out here is huge. Very thankful for that. Well, I thought there would be more things considering tomorrow's Thanksgiving, but that's okay. Because we are always generally thankful for things that are a blessing to us, right? Is there anything that's not a blessing to us that we should be thankful for? Jim?
We should be thankful for the times that the Lord protected us
Okay.
from things that we didn't know that He protected us from.
Okay. Thankful for the things that the Lord had protected us from that we were unaware of.
Seen
Okay.
and unseen.
Are we ever thankful for the bad things that happen?
Not at the time.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Not at the time.
Not the same way.
And there's some things that are bad that happen that, you can never look back and be thankful for, but there are some things that I look back on, if they had not happened to me, life would have been very different. I'm thankful that I got called out of my job at C.B. Richard Ellis and sent to war in Afghanistan. I wasn't happy at the time, but I would have never met Jenny if it hadn't been for that. I'm thankful for I can think of many bad things that happened in my life because as a result of that, it caused me to grow up and to mature. Ephesians 5:20, 1 Thessalonians 5 as well, tells us that we need to be thankful for or gracious for all things. That passage from 1 Thessalonians. And thankful for all things. All things. Everything that may come our way. And as James tells us in James 1, consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance, and let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. As Mick already pointed out, it's against our nature to be joyful when trouble comes. And consequently, young Christians, I think, are unable to put James's words into practice, to really act on those things. I remember when I first became a Christian, I could not find joy in testings or trials of any kind. We have to learn that joy does not come, as, again, Mick was pointing out, it doesn't come at the time when those troubles come upon us, but they come afterward, don't they? What is it that we should be joyful about or be thankful for that comes after trials, after some sort of test comes our way? Jim.
Our spiritual growth.
Okay, spiritual growth in our patience generally. And so we grow. We come to maybe a little better understanding. We acquire that patience. James also tells us there in verse 4, be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. We'll grow that, not perfect as in sinless, but we are maturing, growing up to be more like Christ. If we never have temptations, or if we never have trials and troubles, would we ever learn patience? Would we ever grow up in maturity? Whenever a child is raised and they are raised up and given whatever they want, they're never forced to say, they're never told no to, they never have to deal with anything because their mom and dad always takes care of everything. In general, how does that kid grow up? What do they grow up to be?
Dependent.
Okay, dependent, spoiled, not very patient, always expecting to get what they want right away. Hugo LaCord had wrote that he saw that he saw in Jesus a fourfold sequence that God thinks is good for all of us: troubles, patience, maturity, and joy. What troubles did Jesus find himself in? Quite a few, right? All kinds. He even told the apostles time and time again that he was going to go to Jerusalem. He was going to be taken captive, handed over to the Gentiles, and killed. And on the third day, raised up again. And as those days were approaching, he was determined to go to Jerusalem, knowing what would come. When he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, remember, he was in there praying that this might pass from him, but not my will, but your will be done. And there in Hebrews 5, verse 7, the Hebrew writer writes, in the days of his flesh, he offered up both prayers and supplications with loud crying and tears to the one able to save him from death, and he was heard because of his piety. And at no time could you say he was joyful in those moments, right? But he was a son. He learned obedience from the things which he suffered. Hebrews 5, 7 through 9 makes that clear to us. And he was ready to endure. And the Hebrew writer again also in Hebrews 12, verse 2 tells us, who, speaking of Jesus, for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne. Troubles, patience, maturity, and joy. And tomorrow we have our Thanksgiving. I think we do have a lot of things to be thankful for as far as the blessings that have been bestowed upon us by God and our families and our country and all around. But I think we should also at times remember some of the hardships that we've had to deal with, that we've overcome in the last year, or maybe 5 or 6 years, or 10 years. And remember the things that we've learned from that God gave us to be thankful for. There were many things I had to go through, and I think those things helped me grow up and to mature. And I'm thankful for them. And I hope we all stop and consider some of those things as well as we enter into this time of year for Thanksgiving. Man, quiet crowd. So, that's the lesson I have for us this evening. I want us to not only be thankful, but remember those difficult times in life, those hardships that we have, and the growth that we gain from it, all the patience that we learned. You know, one last story. I remember the first time I thought, I better learn how to play golf. It was when I was in Durango. I had never played golf. I didn't like it. But every preacher I'd met, every person learning to be a preacher, everyone played golf. I thought, man, maybe I should learn how to play golf. So I convinced Guy to take me up to the golf course and show me how to play. And he said, well, how have you ever gone? I said, I tried once by myself. He goes, how many did you hit? I said, well, I hit an 80. He said, 80's not bad. I said, we only played 9 holes. So we'll go. And I'll also remember I went and I bought all my golf balls. I had like 12 of them. I had to borrow some from Guy, and I would just lose them. And I remember thinking, how can anyone like this game? It was the most frustrating game I'd ever played. I was so angry. I had 0 patience for it. I thought I'll never play again. And I came up here and I kept putting up, and I finally decided I want to try again. And it caused, I had to learn patience, breathe. And it took a lot of effort and a heartache and money of the balls that I lose to overcome it. But in the end, I'm doing a little better. But that's the same with any sport. It takes time. It takes effort. You got to overcome a lot of troubles and hardship. And it's like that in life. You lose your job. You lose this. You have this trouble, and then another, and then another. And you learn patience and endurance in these things, and they help us to grow up and be mature men and women. And sometimes God puts these things there for us so that we can learn something. Remember, we just finished up Job. Do you remember what it was that we concluded that God wanted Job to learn? Do you remember what it was? What was it that we think God wanted Job to learn? He doesn't know everything. He doesn't know everything. He seemed to have a strong understanding, and he did, but he thought he knew more than he really did. And God laid him low. He doesn't know everything. Neither do we. We are given what we need to get through this life. And he gives us, as Guy mentioned on Sunday, anchors that we can hold on to in faith, knowing what's waiting for us up there in heaven. And also we need to be thankful for all the blessings and for all the things that have brought us to where we are now in our life and in our spiritual life. Count our many blessings. Something to be thankful for.